Hello, this is RICKY, the YouTube Tech Guy. Hey guys, today I'm bringing you another breaking news video. It's just more one that happened yesterday, and a lot of you guys asked me to comment on it, so I am obliging and commenting on it. And that is checking what is and what isn't on the latest specs for the leaked S8 Plus. And this comes, of course, from Evan Blass. So he posted this and, impress your friends, confuse your enemies with this knowledge. So again, if you are not following Evan Blass, you definitely should be on Twitter. And let's get to the actual image. So this is what we believe that the S8 Plus will have. If you don't know about the name and the when to release and all that kind of stuff, check out our weekly show, Mobile Weekly. We go over everything every week, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sundays. So check that out there. So here we go. Samsung S8 Plus. This will have a 6.2 inch screen. Now this is obviously going to be because of the fact that you're going to have no physical home button, no Samsung logo even on the front if I'm not mistaken, although we'll go over the design next and again what's not on here. So you have that 12 dual pixel camera, so that's the same that we had last year, but with probably some software improvements that we don't yet know about, and what kind of photo and video features we don't yet know about too. I would personally love to see something like a color splash that I've used on the Mate 9 as of recently, where you can black and white everything and have one color stand out, or just anything new and different that, again, we have with third-party apps, but I love more and more things being built in. 8 megapixel front camera, that is a step up from ones that Samsung had before, as they were 5, so that's good to see. IP68 water and dust resistance, kind of been a standard since the S7. Iris scanner, so we are getting that back from the Note 7. If you never saw our videos on the Iris scanner for the Note 7, definitely check it out. It's insanely quick. Didn't have any delay. As long as you were looking at it, it would do it, and it never gets tripped up. It's actually more secure than a fingerprint scanner, so really good for that. Secured by Knox, 64 gigs of storage, so you have double the storage we ever really had on an S series, which is really good. Again, a mainstream release of it, because they've been going back and forth between having multiple versions of the phone or just having one version of the phone. So it looks like this will just be one version, 64 gig. I am curious to see if the S8 will be 32 gig though. That is a curious thing to see how that'll turn out. Samsung Pay, wireless charging, Android operating system. I like how it says Android operating system and we don't know, but it looks like it should have, of course, Nougat on there. The question is, will it have 7.0 or 7.1? Because that will mean the difference between having the Google Voice Assistant or their own assistant, which we'll go over that in a second. And earphones by AKG. Now, Evan Blass also leaked that AKG will be supplying the speakers for the Tab S3 that we're getting announced at MWC in 2 days. So look out for that. All right, so what doesn't this tell us? What doesn't the specs tell us? Because I've heard a lot of people, reach out to me like, oh, I was kind of underwhelmed. Oh, I think this is cool, and different, a mixed bag all around. So let me explain. There's a couple of things that it does not tell us. The biggest thing is, the biggest impression about this phone is supposed to be the design. So when we see this leaked thing from phonearena.com, it really shows, obviously, the design is one of the biggest things about this phone. It stands out. It's have a wow factor, and I think that's really going to make the biggest impression is the wow factor in the design. That is probably what's going to impress us the most. Still hoping for a green color Samsung, come on, do it, but we'll have to wait and see. You also have to see in terms of one big other thing is that, we have the iris scanner here. We have the IR blaster. So again, right there, I see no IR blaster, just pointing it out to you guys. I know we're asking for it. But in one of these leaks right here, we do see a Type-C connection as well as a headphone jack. So it does look like the S8 will have a headphone jack if these are accurate in terms of the leaks. It does look like it'll have a headphone jack, which is definitely good news. However, I am sad to say that looking at this, it looks like at least we won't have stereo speakers, which I'm greatly disappointed in. If there's one thing Samsung needs to improve on, which I cannot wait for the acquisition of Harman Kardon to go through, is speakers. Samsung definitely has given into the water resistance over speaker mentality because that is what is the handoff. You generally get either water resistance or good sound quality. Sony did the best job of it, I would say, out of all the phones that have been water resistant. The iPhone doesn't do as good as Sony if you ever had the Xperia phones. But it did better than Samsung. Samsung's speakers are probably the biggest thing that needs improvement. So I'm really hoping that AKG not only did the headphone jack audio, but that they also did the speaker quality, because that's the biggest thing that has been amiss for Samsung for the past few phones. Come on, Samsung, on the note, give us dual speakers. So that's one of the other things is the headphone jack being there and not being there. Another thing we don't get from this is the probably most talked about feature software wise about this new phone, which is the Bixby voice assistant, and or whatever they're going to call it. And will we get that on this phone or not? It's supposed to be a voice assistant like Google Assistant, or, well, a better version than Siri. But basically the idea behind it is that you really have a virtual assistant that can do a lot of things, integrate with everything on your phone, and make it a lot easier. Like, you can just ask it to do things that you wouldn't think regular voice commands could do. And that's what Google Assistant definitely started on the right track. And it's so natural speaking, you don't have to change it. And it really has evolved, honestly, mostly from Alexa on the Echo Dot. So this progression has happened, and now Apple and Samsung are starting to get into it. So that's the biggest thing that I think you're going to see from those two companies specifically over the next 2 years, is kind of having their own or working more closely with Alexa and Google for their assistants. Google Assistant is my favorite. I use Google Home. I have 3 of them in my house, so I'm a big fan of Google Assistant. It's very natural speaking, very natural sounding. I don't have to think about how I say things most of the time, and you can customize it, so you can really do a lot of fun stuff with it. Just to give you an idea of how simple and easy it is to do fun stuff with it. Hey Google, shut up.
No, you shut up before I delete your hard drive.
So that video is coming, by the way. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for how to do that kind of stuff. So this is the kind of stuff that you really want to be able to have in a personal assistant. You want to have a personality. You want to have that extra wow factor. The other things you're looking for is the home button. Now, we pretty much know that the home button, or at least the fingerprint scanner, is going to be on the back. But will that also be a home button? Or will the home button be on the front and it's just a virtual button now? Will we have a double tap as well to wake up the phone? These are things that I'm really curious about to see what it's going to be. For me, Samsung, you better put a double tap on there, because that is a crucial feature to turn on the screen when it's down, when your home button's on the back. So hopefully they do have that. And again, Samsung had that kind of stuff a while back in terms of even like gesturing over the sensor at the top to wake up the screen. They implemented that before Moto did, although Moto made it a lot better by all means. So really kind of interesting stuff on there. And then finally, you have the external S Pen. We know there's an external S Pen for the Tab S3 as of the leak that we showed, I think about 2 weeks ago. So check that video out. But overall, we do not know if there will be an external S Pen for here, or if that external S Pen will work on there. Now, let me explain how this works. Wacom is a company that Samsung owns, and they do the digitizers for every artist in the world. Every artist in the world, for Disney and DreamWorks and all those, use Wacom tablets to draw and create stuff. So that's how accurate they are. Samsung owns the majority stakeholder of that company, and so, or I believe so, yeah, they're the majority holder, and so they of course only put it on their phones, this kind of technology. That's why you don't see that technology as accurately on an Apple Pencil or a Surface, or it's licensed out to have good quality, to have that kind of quality. But overall, with this, it really comes down to, will they spend the extra money to put a digitizer on this phone or not, because that's what you have to have the screen digitizer on there in order to receive an S Pen. They've had C Pens in the past, which we've reviewed here as well. You can check out our past videos on that. But they've had C Pens in the past, which are just very thin tip stylus that work. But S Pens have functionalities, and that's what we want from an S Pen. So I'm really curious to see that. I personally don't think we're going to get an external S Pen. I know a lot of people have been asking me that. Do you think there will be one for this phone for the Note users that are still waiting on the next Note, which we won't get till later this year? I do not believe so, but I will be pleasantly surprised if we do. So yeah, guys, last thing is colors. We do not yet know the colors that we're going to have. I think it will be a mistake if they don't bring out the blue again. I think the blue is a really great color. It sold the most out of any of the Note 7s, and the blue sold well for the S7 Edge when it came out for there. So I think they definitely should have a blue. I'm hoping for a green, though. Green, if you ever see, go ahead and search, do a Google search right now for S6 Edge green. There was a green that was released in Europe and different parts of the world, and I was so jealous of it. And some of these colors only go to different regions. For instance, the thing I always surprise people with, like, did you know that every Note that's ever come out has been available in pink in Korea? Every single one has been available in pink. But we never got that in the US or even saw most of the pictures and everything like that. But these are always different colors. I think for the S6, Korea had like 8 colors of the S6. So it's always things like that. Like you get lots of different colors depending on what country you're at. I hope that carriers start to order more of these colors because they are successful and they do well. People always want the newest color. And I hope carriers will buy more into it. That if Samsung makes those colors, carriers will buy more of those colors. I think black, silver, and blue are a good way to go. That was the lineup with the Note 7. Again, if I could add a green there, I would be happy. But we'll have to wait and see what colors are released. What color do you think it should come out in? And out of all these specs, what was most attractive to you? Again, we didn't get battery size either, although we've leaked that before from Evan Blast as well, I believe, or Phone Arena, one of those two. We had that on a past video on the battery size. I'm really curious to see what software changes have been made, because yes, these are the specs, right? These are all the specs that that Evan Blast has shown us. But it is different from what software and what wow factors can be. I mean, if you remember, like on the iPhone 4S, I think it was the 4S, that they had virtually no real big hardware changes, except for getting longer. But the biggest thing was Siri. So that was the biggest wow factor. It was a software thing that, again, wouldn't be listed on here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What features are you most looking forward to, and which color would you want this phone in? Thank you as always for watching. Make sure to check out all of our other shows and videos on the YouTube Tech Guy channel. This has been RICKY, the YouTube Tech Guy.